Section 2.4, more about linear equations. Our objective today is to write an equation of a line given its slope and a point on the line. So our point-slope form is right here. It is y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. Your point is x1, y1, and your slope equals m. Those are the two things that you'll be plugging into this formula. So the ordered pair goes here, and the slope goes there. Here's an example. Problem 1. A line passes through -5, 2 with a slope of 3/5. What's the equation of the line? Now they're not asking for a specific form, they just want an equation. So all we're going to do is plug it in. So this -5 will be x1, the 2 will be y1, and the slope will be m. So y minus 2, that's y2, or excuse me, y1 equals the slope times x minus a -5. So that would be a +5. And that's it. If they wanted you to change to another form, they would say that. So you could also multiply through, solve for y, and put it in point or slope-intercept form, but they didn't do that this time, so we'll just leave it like it is. If you want to pause the video for got it question number 1, you can, and then refer back to it to check your answer. Again, the slope is -3. The 7 is x1. The -1 is y1. Also remember that in this equation, what some students get mixed up is, do I put them in for the x or the y, or the x1, y1? Now, it's going to look funny if you have your x1 and your y1 in your equation yet. That's why you put it in for the variables that have the 1s and 2s and whatever in there. So y minus a -1, which make it a +1, equals your slope times x minus 7. Problem number 2. A line passes through 3, 2, that's point 1, and 5, 8, that is point 2. What's an equation of the line in point-slope form? So the first thing we're going to do is pick a point that we want to use. Let's pick point 1. It doesn't matter if you picked point 2. So we're going to use 3, 2. And generally you have the slope, but this time you don't. So we're going to use these two ordered pairs to get our slope, and then we can plug them in. So y2 would be 8 minus y1, that is 2, and x2 is 5 minus 3. And then we simplify. We get 6/2, which is 3. So my slope is 3. Y minus y1, which is 2, equals slope times x minus x1, which is 3. And again, this is point-slope form, so we're done. Here's a practice question, got it number 2. -5, 0 is point 1. 0, 7 would be point 2. We do not have the slope. So this time I'm going to show you that you do get the same answer. Regardless of if you use point 1 or point 2. They really don't look the same until you actually solve for slope-intercept form. So there's actually 2 answers for this question in point-slope form, depending on the point you pick. So I'm going to pick point 2 this time, which is 0, 7. And I need to find out what my slope is because I don't have that. So y2 is 7, y1 is 0. x2 is 0 minus a -5, which becomes +5. So 7/5. So y minus 7 equals 7/5 times x minus 0. Now, if you wanted to simplify a little further, you could. just take that 0 out of there and make it 7/5 x on the right. That would be okay. But again, not a big deal. What would this look like if you picked 0.1? It would be y minus 0 equals 7/5 times x minus a negative 5, which would be plus 5. Again, you could take that minus 0 out of there and have y equals 7/5 x plus 5 in parentheses. Either one of these would work. Standard form, ax plus by equals c. Now, one thing about standard form, when you are looking, a, b, and c are real numbers. A and b cannot both be 0. So what is an equation of the line y equals 3/4 x minus 5 in standard form? Use integer coefficients. So on this one, we cannot have fractional numbers. So you'd have to get rid of all of those fractions. So let's start it out. And usually a, b, and c are integers. Okay, so to get rid of the fractional parts, we're going to multiply both sides by 4. So we get 4y equals, now this 4 cancels out the 4 on the bottom, 3x, and then negative 5 times 4 would be negative 20. Then we get the x and the y on the left side, so negative 3x plus 4y equals negative 20. If you brought stuff to the right side, I'm going to put an or here, it would be 3x minus 4y equals 20. Basically, it's the flipped signs, so you can have either of these answers, and they would both be fine. Let's practice got it question number 3. Notice this one has decimals in it, and you can practice this and check your answer if you wish. Now, notice how these both have 1 decimal place. What we're going to do is move the numbers 1 decimal place or multiply by 10. So we're going to multiply the right side by 10 and the left side by 10. So we get 10y equals 91x plus 36. Get the x's and the y's on the same side. Negative 91x plus 10y equals 36. And remember, you can also have the opposite signs as well. 91x minus 10y equals negative 36. Either of those answers are okay. Problem number 4. What are the intercepts of 3x plus 5y equals 15? So basically, when you are looking at these two, I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do this one. Excuse me. So the x-intercept would be what is x when y equals 0. The y-intercept would be what is y when x equals 0. So all we have to do is plug those numbers in. A lot of times I will just cover up whichever one is getting the 0 and solve that, but you can certainly substitute them in as well. So this would be 3x plus 5 times 0 equals 15, or 3x equals 15. X would be 5. So 5, 0. And the other would be when x is 0. So 3 times 0 plus 5y equals 15. 5y equals 15. Y equals 3. So my other ordered pair would be 0, 3. Make sure that instead of just circling your table, you do put them in ordered pair form, and it says graph the equation. So if you had to graph this one, I didn't put graph paper on here, but here's what it looks like. So one ordered pair is 5, 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll put a dot right there. The other is 0, 3. So we'll put a dot right there. And then you draw them in. That's it. So graphing those, one's going to be on the x-axis, the other's going to be on the y-axis, and you just connect them. Make sure you extend your line through each point. What are the intercepts of 2x minus 4y equals 8? And graph that equation. So for this one, I want to show you a different way to do it. If you have x over a plus y over b equals 1, this number right here is your x-intercept. This number right here is your y-intercept. So let's try that. 2x minus 4y equals 8. So to make that a 1 on the right side, I'm going to divide everything by 8. And then I'm going to simplify. So this becomes a 1. Negative 4 over 8 becomes a negative y over 2. And a 2 over 8 gives me x over 4. If you're not sure how to do that, I'm just dividing 2 into 8 and negative 4 into 8. I'm actually going to do the negative on the bottom with the number. But the other way you can do it is just type it into your calculator as a fraction, and it should simplify it for you. This one will probably give you a 1/4, which is fine, and a negative 1/2, which is also fine. So my x-intercept this time in ordered pair form would be 0 or 4, 0. And my y-intercept in ordered pair form would be 0, negative 2. Now, just to verify that that worked and that was okay, I'm going to do this one in a different color the way we just did it last time, just to show you that it does work. Last time we did a little XY table. To find the x-intercept, we're going to plug a 0 in for y. To find the y-intercept, we're going to plug a 0 in for x. So plugging a 0 in for the y would give me 2x equals 8. X would equal 4. And again, that's what we had. Plugging in a 0 for the x makes the 0 part, or the x part 0. We get negative 4y is equal to 8. So y is equal to negative 2, which is the same as we got before. So if you're not going to remember that new method that I just showed you, that's totally fine. Just remember which one gets a 0 and make it in ordered pair form at the end. Got a question number 5. Did I skip something? No. The office manager of a small office ordered 140 packs of printer paper. Based on the average daily use, she knows that the paper will last about 80 days. What graph will represent this situation? So we just need to do a little graph that represents this situation. So I'm going to just draw this in quadrant 1. Since we're talking about something that can't be negative, we want to know how many packs of paper are left. So I'm going to put the time part down here and the paper packs, oops, sorry about that, paper packs over here. Okay, and we're talking 80 days. So let's go 20, 40, 60, 80. And for paper, we're looking at 140. Let's also go, actually, let's do 50, 100, 150. Now, if you had graph paper, I would do a better job of putting this on there, but I don't, so I'm just kind of estimating a little bit. So we have 80 packs, 80 days, and we have 140 packs of paper. And we're just going to connect those. And that's what it looks like. What's the equation of the line in standard form? So we basically have two ordered pairs here. So we have 80, 0, and we have 0, 140. So I'm going to pick a point, and I'm going to pick this one, and I'm going to find the slope as well. So the slope is y2, which is 140, minus 0, over x2, which is 0, minus 80. So I get a negative 140 over 80. I'm going to reduce that by dividing by 10. I'm going to reduce it again by 2, so I get negative 7 over 4. Also check, is my graph going down, which is what the negative means? It is. So we found our slope, and I have my point. So here's my information that I want to use. Y minus 0 equals negative 7 over 4 times x minus 80. Now, you can distribute first if you want to. You can multiply by 4 first if you want to. Since they want it in standard form, we can't have any fractional answers here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by 4 first so that I don't have to multiply and do fractions. Okay, something happened here. Just a second. Okay, there we go. So we get 4y on the left. This cancels that out, so we get negative 7x. I don't know why my pen's not working. There we go. And then negative 7 times negative 80 would be plus 560. And then if we get these 7x on the left, we get 7x plus 4y equals 560. And there's my equation in standard form. How many packs of printer paper should the manager expect to have after 30 days? Well, you have to think back to the graph. The x part of the graph was the time part, so we're going to plug a 30 into the x. 7 times 30 plus 4 times y equals 560. 7 times 30 is 210. We're going to subtract 210 from both sides. So we get 350 on the right. And then we'll divide by 4. Y equals 87.5. Now remember, we're talking about days. Could that be possible, 87.5 days? Yes, because you could run out with a half a day left. So that's what you're looking at for the, we have, how many, oh wait, it's packs, sorry. Not days. We plugged in for days. So we put 30 in for the x because x stood for days, and we have 87.5 packs of paper left. Now, parallel lines have equal slopes, like that. Perpendicular lines have negative reciprocals of each other. So if we look at M1 has a slope of 2/5, the perpendicular slope to this one, you would flip it over and change the sign. So they have to have opposite signs and opposite fractions. What is the equation of each line in slope-intercept form? So we want parallel, okay? That means the slope is the same. Okay, so in this equation right here, 6 is your slope, and we want it to be the same. So my point is 1, -3, and my slope is 6. So we go right back to that question that we had at the beginning of this lesson. Y minus y1, which is -3, so it'll change the sign, equals 6 times x minus 1. Now this time they don't want just a random equation. They want it in slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept looks like this. Slope-intercept form, you solve for y. So we'll need to get rid of the parentheses. Distributive property on the right. We will also get y by itself. So we'll subtract 3. So my equation in slope-intercept form is y equals 6x minus 9. So this time they want perpendicular. Perpendicular are negative reciprocals. Okay, so in this equation right here, I look for the x because the slope goes with it. So my normal slope is -4/1. My perpendicular slope is 1/4. Remember, you flip it over and change the sign, and then the point that I want to use is 8, 5. So once you find that new slope, we don't go back to the beginning. We're going to do y minus 5 equals the slope times x minus 8. So y minus 5 equals 1/4 x minus 8/4, which is 2. And we need to get y by itself. So we'll add 5. So 1/4 x plus 3. Let's pause the video. You can practice got it question number 6. Come back and check it to see if you got it. So again, we want slope-intercept form. So we want a line parallel. Parallel means the slopes are the same. So this equation, it's not solved so that we can see the slope. So let's do that. So we'll subtract 4x from both sides. So we get 2y equals -4x plus 7. Divide by 2 every term. Gives us y equals -2x plus 7/2. The only number that we need is the slope. So my point is 4, -2, and my slope is -2 because it needs to be the same because it's parallel. So y minus a -2, which becomes plus 2, equals my slope times x minus 4. We want slope-intercept form, so we need to solve for y. So let's get rid of the parentheses on the right and subtract 2. Okay, so my new equation is y equals -2x plus 6. We'll do one more. This one needs to be perpendicular, so your slopes are negative reciprocals. So the first thing we need to do is check out what the slope is. This time it's in slope-intercept form, so my perpendicular slope is flip it over, change the sign. My point is 0, 6. So y equals -3/2 x plus 6. Now, when you're looking at it, you might be thinking, well, why did you go right to that equation? Because I knew that this right here is my y-intercept. Okay, well, what if you didn't recognize that? Would it work if you substituted it into the point slope form? Yes, so I'm going to show you that right now too. So if you plugged it into slope-intercept form, it would look like this. Y minus 6 equals negative 3 over 2, x minus 0. Distributive property on the right. Since you multiply by 0, there's nothing there. And then we add 6 to both sides. Okay, and you'll notice that these two are exactly the same. So some might recognize that that is the intercept, some might not. Either way, you do get the same answer. You do have to change it to slope-intercept form for the second method. Come with questions tomorrow. I'm gonna drag this down. It went on top. Okay.